This is the year that Arsenal win a trophy. Now, I don't know what that trophy is, and I can have my opinions on what that trophy might be, but I truly do believe the squad now is strong enough to compete on all four fronts. More importantly, get one across the line. Now, there's a huge question mark, and am I 100% convinced yet? Of course, I'm not. I need to see it to believe it. Mikel Arteta needs to get across the line, and am I convinced that he can do that? Huge question mark. In fact, it's the only question mark I have about Arsenal right now. But I am quietly confident that this season the squad is just far too strong not to get across the line. Now, whether that be the Premier League or the Champions League like we want, or whether it be a domestic cup, I do actually believe Arsenal will win a trophy. Come May, I think we would have either have lifted something already or will lift something at the end of the season. Now, of course, a lot of people will want it to be the Premier League. If you're like me, you will want it to be the Champions League. If you're like me, you'd probably want it to be more than one. But let's be realistic about it. In the Carabao Cup, Arsenal are one of, if not the favourites to win the whole competition. Right now, we are the favourites to win the Premier League. Right now, we're one of the favourites to win the Champions League. And when the FA Cup starts in the new year, we will be one of the favourites alongside the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City that will be the favourites to win that too, which means that we are in the bracket to be a favourites in pretty much all four competitions. We have to get across the line. We must. Now, I think there's going to be some factors as to why that might be the case. And let's go through it. The first one is I think the squad is the strongest it's been in a time. And when I mean by that, it's been the strongest probably since the Highbury days. We have to go back as far as the Invincibles to see the squad depth that we've got and actually some of the quality in our first 11. I think whether you're a fan of individual players or not, I think it's fair to say if you're a football fan right now, you do believe David Raya is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. You will admit that Urian Timber is one of the best fullbacks in the league, and you will definitely admit statistically and with the eye test that Gabriel and Saliba is probably one of, if not the best partnership in Europe and certainly in the league defensively. Then you move into our midfield, and I think that Zubimendi has definitely upgraded it in terms of technical ability. But certainly, what it's done, in my opinion, is it's implemented the performance and consistent role of Declan Rice. Declan Rice is seen without a doubt right now as one of the best midfielders in Europe. He is. He might not be on the same level as a Pedri or a Vitinha, or even some might say a Caicedo. He's definitely not, when fit, a Rodri level, but certainly can be put into conversation with those names in that bracket of what he's done consistently now for the best part of 2.5 years at Arsenal. Then you look at what we've got in attack. Bukayo Saka would walk into most European sides. Not all of them, wouldn't start for all of them. Maybe he wouldn't. But you know what? He would start for a lot of them. And that means Arsenal definitely have quality. Definitely have quality. Then we look at the strength in depth. Arsenal have the best strength in depth that we've had for quite some time. Now, let's take it back to the season before last and the season before that. 22-23, we go 8 points clear. We get injuries to Saliba and Tomiyasu, and we're trying our best to get through a period of time defensively where it looks a mess. Rob Holding has to come in. Then you go to the following season. When anybody got injured, it was Fabi Vieira, it was Lokonga, it was Tavares, it was Reece Nelson, it was Eddie Nketiah. Now, you look, if those positions were to go down injured, then we would have Kai Havertz, we would have Gabriel Jesus, we would have Noni Madueke, we'd have Aberrete Eze, we'd have Gabriel Martinelli. If you don't want to look at the attack, you look into midfield. We've got Mikel Merino, Ethan Wanyeri, young Max Dowman, Norgard. In defence, we've got Mosquera and Nkapie, Lewis Skelly, and of course Ben White. Right now, Arsenal can cover every position. Now, we can definitely upgrade in January and the summer. Of course, some say we want a left winger. Some say we might need a better backup striker. Some are saying that in the middle, there's not really a replacement for Declan Rice. And I can hear all those arguments, but it's the strongest it's been in quite some time, which means that we have zero excuses about competing on all four fronts. There's zero explanation as to why Arsenal can't go and compete strongly in all four competitions. Now, that doesn't mean that Arsenal can go and win all of them. It means that Arsenal must get one across the line. Now, a lot of people are saying that if it's only the Carabao Cup or it's only the FA Cup, that's not good enough. Do you know what? I don't mind winning that League Cup in March and then giving that chance of installing mentality that's winning mentality to go and do it again in May. And some have said that it has to be a Premier League or a Champions League. And do you know what? I have an order of priority. I want the Champions League. Why? Because it's the best in Europe and we've not done it before. After that, yes, it would be the Premier League. And of course, I'd like to do both. But let's be realistic. If you're taking the Premier League, you're not going to sit there complaining because you didn't win the Champions League, right? Premier League is your bread and butter. Then you go into the domestic cups. FA Cup, 14. I'd love to make it 15. I love the competition. It's one of my favourites. I grew up winning loads of them. I've seen so many. I've been to so many finals. And it's one that I think holds true and rings true in every single Arsenal fan's eyes. That is ahead of course, the Carabao Cup. Now, a lot of people laugh at that and say it's dusty, it's an energy drink cup, it's one you play the kids in, no one cares about it. And trust me, if Arsenal win it, there will be a certain section of fan bases that will just try and banter us. Oh, 6 years for a Carabao Cup. But it's a trophy. Let's start there and see how we can build on that. So for me, my point is take it seriously. Take the FA Cup seriously. Take the Champions League and Premier League as seriously as the other two. Because we can do that now. We can rotate. It doesn't mean you make wholesale changes. It means that you can tweak it a little bit so that 4 or 5 players can actually get game time and the other 4 or 5 players can come off and get a rest. And then you go again with the next game, which is why we've struggled in the past with our 14, 15 players trying to play Thursday, Sunday, then going back into the Champions League, playing Tuesday or Wednesday and then Saturday or Sunday. We've struggled to compete. But now there shouldn't be any excuses for that because of the players I've mentioned. So those are the reasons why I believe that Arsenal have a chance of winning a trophy. And I'll say this. Arsenal need to keep players fit, just like every other team does. I know our squad's strong, but you still need the players to be fit, right? Arsenal have had 6 attackers out. And in normal circumstances and for most other teams and players, it would be an absolute disaster. It would be seen as an injury crisis. With Odegaard out, with Madueke out, with Gabriel Martinelli out, with Jesus out, and of course with Havertz and Victor Gyökeres in the last game. That's 6 attacking options that we are no longer available to be looking at coming on or taking part in any form in the game now. And they're all back after the international break, which means that our squad will just get stronger. The other thing I'll say lastly is this. Gabriel needs to stay fit. Declan Rice needs to stay fit. Not because they're 2 of our best players, but because I don't think they're replaceable in this side. Declan Rice, who can do his job? Well, Mars Lewis Skelly is probably the nearest to it. I don't think Marino can do it. I don't think Ethan and Eza or Odegaard are defensive-minded enough to do what Declan Rice does. And I don't think anybody in the team has his set-piece delivery and attributes from dead ball and set plays. There is nobody that can do what he does right now, probably in Europe. So Declan Rice has to stay fit. And we have to not play him in every game, but we have to rotate him and give him the right rest. Because for the internationals, you see how vital he is there too, which means he's not going to get any rest in England's setup either. Then, of course, the other player I mentioned, of course, is Gabriel. Now, that is not just because he's unbelievably defensively. He's unbelievably offensively as well. We know from set pieces how good he is. He's an absolute monster. And if you're keeping Rice fit and you're keeping him on dead balls and set plays, I'm sorry, Gabriel has to be in the box for them. Gabriel is not just someone who scores from them. He's creative from them. He can flick on. He can out-muscle. He can be a nuisance to allow someone else to be given the space. He's somebody that's marked by 2, 3, and sometimes even 4 defenders when we have a set piece or a corner. It's quite incredible what he's done. That, for me, is why Arsenal have to keep Gabriel and Declan Rice fit. Now, some would say Saliba, some would say Saka. Of course, these are players that we absolutely do not want to get injured. But I would argue that they're not as important now as Gabriel and Declan Rice. And that's why, for me, these 2 are absolutely key to keep fit. And I think that if we can keep them fit and we can go into each competition with a strong set of players, I think we have absolutely every chance of winning a trophy this year. And I absolutely want to see it. Now, everybody says, Dan, you're quite harsh on the manager. Dan, you don't believe in the manager. And some have gone to the stream of saying, if we win, I don't want to see you celebrating. Just to let you know, I'll be going nuts if we win a trophy. I don't care. Keep crying, people. What I will say is this. Because I have zero and have had zero belief and confidence in the way that Arsenal have gone into domestic cups, I feel this season, if Mikel doesn't let us down and goes in seriously, I feel like we can take something home. And I think we can bring a domestic cup home. And yes, I do think that we should be quietly confident about being favourites to win the Premier League. Arsenal have to do it, people. Let's hope we do in May. Big up to everyone that's here. Make sure you do me a favour. Hit like, hit subscribe. Let's hit 60K. I'll see you on the next one.